네, 잠시 안내 말씀드리겠습니다.
Ladies and
이제 곧
gentlemen,
제1회
The
농기계
first electric
국제
autonomous
농기계 전동화 자율주행
agriculture
엑스포
expo
개막식을 진행을
opening
하겠습니다.
ceremony
본
will
행사는
take place
공식
from
언어인
10.
한국어와 영어 두 언어로
Today's event
진행이
will be
되겠습니다.
conducted in two
이곳
official
개막식
languages,
현장에서
Korean
함께해
and
주시는
English.
분들께서는 자리에 준비되어 있는
And
동시통역
on the desk,
수신기를
we have
착용해
prepared
주시고
a
채널에
receiver for
맞추어 함께하시면
interpretation.
동시통역
So please
제공받으실
tune the
수
receiver
있겠습니다.
to
채널 1번이
channel 1
한국어,
for Korean
2번이
and 2
영어입니다.
for
또 온라인
English.
생중계로 함께하고 계시는
And for
분들께서는
those of you joining
언어별로
us
링크가
online,
준비되어 있으니까요.
we
맞는
prepared
언어의
separate
링크
links
선택하셔서
for
시청해
two
주시기를
different languages. So
부탁드리겠습니다.
please select the
Ladies
language
and
you
gentlemen,
prefer.
may I have your attention, please? The opening ceremony of the first electric and autonomous agriculture expo will begin shortly. Today's event will be conducted in two official languages, Korean and English. For your convenience, simultaneous interpretation will be provided throughout the event. So please tune the receiver to channel number 1 for Korean, channel number 2 for English. For those of you joining us online, two different language links are provided. So please select the language you prefer. Thank you. 네, 그러면 지금부터
Ladies and gentlemen, the opening ceremony will take place. Please take your seat. Thank you very much for your patience. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm Dae Kim, your MC for the opening ceremony of the first IEVE Electric and Autonomous Agriculture. Welcome all of you. This year marks the 10th anniversary since the announcement of Carbon-Free Island 2030 by Jeju. Not just as an EV leading province, with mobility innovation based on green hydrogen and UAM, Jeju is making a leap forward as a UAM special zone. Along with such trends, Jeju is a leading hub city for carbon neutrality in agriculture and the development and distribution of electric and autonomous agriculture machinery, responding to the decrease in farmers and population aging. That is why the very first IEVE Electric and Autonomous Agriculture Expo is being held in Jeju. Including today, for the next 3 days, the expo will be held, and so much attention has been paid to it. Furthermore, today's opening ceremony is joined not just by on-site participants, but by online participants as well. I'd like to sincerely thank all the distinguished guests for your presence and participation despite your busy schedule. Then from now on, I'd like to introduce today's distinguished guests one by one. When their names are being called, please welcome them with a big round of applause. First, Honorary President of the first Electric Autonomous Agriculture Expo, Governor Young-hun-oh of Jeju's Special Self-Governing Province is here with us today, who has made a lot of efforts to make this event possible. Please welcome him with a big hand. And next, Chairman Eun-man Lee of Joint Organizing Standing Committee is here with us today. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. And today, National Assembly member Sung Gon-wi is here with us today. And next, Chairman Jae-gu Cho of National Association of Mayors is joining us today. Welcome. And President Young Ha-ko of Korea Business Angels Association is joining us today. Thank you. And CTO Jacob Madsen of Danfoss is here with us today. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. And President Il-hwan Kim of Jeju University is here with us today. And Director Jong-sun Lee of Taedong is here with us today. Please welcome him with a big hand. And to congratulate the opening ceremony and present of associations in the agriculture and stock raising industry are here with us today. First, President Korea New Intellectual Farmers Association and President Women's Farmers Association Bunyo Kang, and President Kim of Korean Beef Association and President of Korea Dog Association and Korea's Poultry Association President and Korea 4-H Association, as well as Korea Neo Farmers Association and Korea Farming and Stock Raising Association, and President Kim from Association of Ginseng and Mushroom, and Win's CEO Association of Farming Industry are here with us today. Please welcome them with a big round of applause. As you can see, we have today so many distinguished guests, but please understand, I'm not able to introduce one by one due to time constraints. Once again, please understand this. Welcome all of you. Then next, Chairman Eun-man Lee of Joint Organizing Standing Committee will deliver his opening speech, thereby officially opening the forum. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, greetings. The development of the agriculture industry requires advanced technologies, and this first IEV Expo has been prepared jointly with me. My name is Ian of the organizing committee. We are deeply honored by the presence of distinguished participants. My special thanks goes to Mayor Oh Young-un of Special Self-Governing Province, as well as National Assemblyman Wi Sung-gon and Shin Jong-hoon, Representative President Cho Jae-gu of Council of Mayors and Goose Heads, President Kim Il-hwan of Jeju University, Croatian Ambassador to Korea David Kusen, and all diplomatic delegations to Korea, and representatives of 12 Association of Agriculture and Livestock Industry, Mr. Kim Dae-hwan, the president of the IEV Expo, Mr. Ko Byung-gi, and Son Eung-hee, An Ho-gon, Won Hee-yeon, Lee Ju-yeon, Kim Dong-mun, co-chairman of the preparation committee. Thank you so much for your kind participation. My fellow members of the agriculture community, the industry is still facing difficult situations. We all know that the countryside population is declining and aging, and that climate change has created ever worsening unfavorable conditions for farmers, and that many even encountered an existential crisis. The Korean government announced that by 2050, the emission from agro and livestock industry would be reduced by 38% from the 2018 level down to 9.3 million tons. The clock is already ticking. To reduce the emission, agro machines have to run on electricity and hydrogen, and the use of chemical fertilizer need to be curbed. Along with this methodological improvement, the circular use of excretion have to be expanded. Developed countries have already implemented carbon neutrality policies seamlessly for greener agriculture. Standing at this critical juncture, I believe that the birth of this expo has significant implications. In 2019, the International Expo first was born and has been prepared for many events. Led by the International EV Expo, multiple rounds of policy seminars have been held under the name of the IV Expo Electronic and Autonomous Agriculture for years. Followed by those policy seminars, the IEV Expo has identified many who can join forces, and that effort led to the birth of this very first expo. Mayor Oh, who joined the opening ceremony, and policymaker Wee, and the members of provincial council ceaselessly supported the expo and made it possible. Please give them one round of applause once again for their contribution. Thank you. Electrified and autonomous driving-based agro-machines technologies will drastically improve the productivity and reduce the emission. The labor-intensive agro-industry will also see a fundamental change in productivity. It also explains why such machines can resolve population decline and aging issues. In particular, they reduce agro-induced emissions and can enable the industry to become greener. The Jeju Island by 2030 intends to become carbonless and thus initiated the campaign called CFI Jeju, or Carbon Free Island Jeju 2030. This year celebrates the 10th anniversary of this initiative. This very first expo has been opened successfully against all the odds because it holds such a significant meaning to all of us. Accordingly, the island is best positioned and a leading region in employing electrification and autonomous driving technologies to innovate agricultural machine industries. Many businesses found the island ideal for research, development, demonstration, and testing activities for new technologies. Many countries from home and abroad are working hard to outshine their rivals on the global stage by developing agro-specific electrification and autonomous driving technologies. I ask for your support so that this expo can play a priming role in facilitating such evolution and catalyzing exchanges. Please visit the booth area to meet the global players and see the potential of carbon neutrality embedded in their agro-machine product, the golden chance presented by this expo. Also, the B2B business meetings will present a chance to effectively promote your products. During the expo, Korea-China, Korea-ASEAN, Korean-African conferences will be held to discuss various agro and agro-machine issues in depth. These will be a venue where the vision, current status, and blueprint of future smart farms will be shared, along with the values to be added through local energy transition. I believe that this 3-day expo will present rich ideas and thoughts thanks to your participation and support. Lastly, I express my deepest gratitude to Jeju Provincial Government, Jeju Agriculture Research and Extension Services, and other relevant institutions for making this expo possible. Dear participants who took out of their precious time to be with us today, I wish good health and happiness. Thank you.
네, 상...
Thank you very much, Chairman Imali, for your message. The very first electric and autonomous agriculture, and I believe your speech illustrated how committed you have been to the opening ceremony of this. And next, Mayor Young-hoon Oh of Governor Young-hoon Oh of Jeju Special Self-Governing Province is going to deliver his welcoming message. Please welcome him with a big hand. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm Governor Young-hoon Oh of Jeju Special Self-Governing Province. I really like putting meanings to many events. So since it is the very first event in the world, so I believe I find this event very meaningful. So I'd like to sincerely thank Chairman Eun-man Lee and all the staff members of the organizing committee for preparing for this first electric and autonomous agriculture. And President Kim and President Lee, and ladies and gentlemen, please give them a big round of applause as an encouragement. Maybe it's been 3 years. 3 years ago, I met Mr. Young-gi Ko at the National Assembly for this committee, and we had discussions regarding electric and autonomous agricultural machines. It's been 3 years, I guess it's been 4 years. So anyway, many years have been passed and we have prepared a lot, and finally in Jeju we are holding this large-scale, successful electric and autonomous agriculture expo today, and which I find very meaningful. And I believe there are two aspects we need to consider. First, just like other regions in the country, Jeju is experiencing population aging in rural areas, which means that maintaining the agriculture industry is not an easy job to do. So replacing some labor with machines would be very good. So we indeed we made a lot of achievements using some electric and autonomous agriculture machinery. So with such solutions, we may be able to solve issues regarding population aging in rural areas. And second, we are facing the task of carbon neutrality. And there's been global efforts to be committed to carbon neutrality. And as an MC said, 10 years ago, Jeju announced its goal to be carbon free by 2030, and we are implementing that policy. And Carbon Neutrality Basic Act was established, and we have proposed many ways to carry out projects for carbon neutrality. And carbon neutrality, and we laid the legal foundation for reducing carbon emissions. And among our budgets, we allocated some budgets for pilot projects for carbon emissions reduction recognition project. We are going to propose our budget plan to the National Assembly this week. So in many areas, we checked there's been many demand. And next year, about 310 billion won of budget will be allocated to reduce carbon emissions. And of course, it's a small portion when it comes to the agriculture industry, but by 2024, electric and autonomous agricultural budget will be reflected. So the budget will be expanded to reduce carbon emissions going forward. So we have been carrying out many pilot projects in the province, and I hope those projects could be carried out on a major scale, taking this opportunity. And once again, I'd like to sincerely thank all of you for your support. And my special thanks go to Chairman Eunman Lee and Chairman Jae-gu Cho of National Association Mayors and President Il-hwan Kim of Jeju University and council member of Jeju Provincial Council. I'd like to thank all of you for your presence. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your remarks. As you just said, the agriculture industry has been facing multiple difficulties. That's why we need to employ advanced cutting-edge technologies for the brighter future of the agriculture industry. And as you just said, Carbon-Free Island Initiative celebrates the 10th anniversary, and this very first IEVEXPO, Electric and Autonomous Agriculture, is being held. And it has been possible because Mayor took great interest in the field of agriculture industry. Thank you so much for your interest. And the next congratulatory remark will be given by Chairman So Byung-eun of Agriculture, Food, Rural Affairs, Oceans, and Fishery Committee. He was supposed to attend in person, but due to National Assembly affairs, he sent us the video clip instead. Please welcome and let us watch the video clip together. Greetings. I'm Chairman and Democratic Party member So Byung-eun from Agriculture, Food, Rural Affairs, Oceans, and Fisheries Committee, whose election district is Gwangju-gap region in Gyeonggi Province. First, I congratulate the successful opening of the very first IEV Expo for electric and autonomous agriculture. My special thanks go to Mayor Oh Young-eun, Chairman Lee Eun-man, who worked hard to make today's event possible, and also to distinguished participants from home and abroad. Today, the agriculture community in Korea is facing multiple difficulties, including existential population risk, aging population, and climate change. Yet, I believe the Koreans are smart enough to turn this crisis into opportunities, as the history proves. That turning point will be generated beginning from this 3-day-long expo, I believe. I hope that this expo can contribute to achieving 2050 carbon neutrality targets and creating smarter agriculture systems. Please enjoy the beautiful nature, advanced agriculture, and other cutting-edge technologies, and I wish that the expo can be concluded successfully and safely as well. Once again, congratulations on the successful opening, and I wish luck and health. And thank you very much for your participation once again.
Thank you very much, National Assemblyman Chairman Byung-hun So, for your congratulatory message. And as just he mentioned, carbon neutrality is our zeitgeist. So, to respond to population aging and decline in population in rural areas, we are holding the very first electric and autonomous agriculture expo. So many people have supported us and have a high level of interest in this area. So that's why we are able to hold this event. And next, National Assemblyman Song Gon-wi, whose constituency is here, Seogwipo City, is going to deliver his congratulatory remarks. Please welcome him with a big hand. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Song Gon-wi of the National Assembly, and I'd like to sincerely congratulate all of you on the opening of the first electric and autonomous agriculture. And my special thanks go to Chairman Eun-man Lee and President Tae-hwan Kim and all the staff members for your tireless efforts to make this get-together possible. In particular, Chairman Eun-man Lee is very much committed to the opening of this event. Thank you very much for your commitment. And my special thanks go to all the association presidents for your presence. And I'd like to extend my sincere gratitude to Governor Young-hun-oh of Jeju Special Self-Governing Province and Mr. Sang-soo-kang and Eun-jung Lim. I'd like to sincerely thank all the council members, and my special thanks go to also President Il-hwan Kim of Jeju University. And I'd like to thank Chairman Jae Cho of National Association of Mayors for your presence. And also I'd like to sincerely thank Croatian Ambassador Damir Kusen to the Republic of Korea and Consul General Wang Lushin of China. I'd like to sincerely thank your presence. I'm not able to introduce all the guests one by one due to time constraints, so please understand this. COP27 of the Paris Agreement is being held right now. So global leaders are gathering together to talk about how to limit the temperature rise of the world by 1.5 degrees Celsius. And at this very critical juncture, it is very meaningful to hold the very first electric and autonomous agriculture with an aim to reduce carbon emissions. I believe this event is very timely and proper. I looked around some booths installed, but I find many things, more things to be done. But there is a saying, of course, you may start humble, but your end will be grandiose or successful. So electrification and self-driving technologies in this agriculture area should many things to be done, but we should not stop here. So to reduce carbon emissions, our effort should start right now. In that regard, this expo is very much meaningful. So we will see improvement next year and more improvement the next year. So in the agriculture industry, the imminent crisis is carbon crisis and climate change. And we need to be committed to reducing carbon emissions in production cycle. Compared to other regions, Jeju is using twice more fertilizers and other chemical fertilizers. So we need to make sure that we should use less fertilizers and those products. I went to Seoul and came back here, and right after this event, I'm heading to Seoul. So I'm joining this event since this expo is very much meaningful. Anyway, after this event, I will go back to Seoul. So with all together, for a healthy lives of our farmers and farming villages, we need to be committed all. Thank you very much for your participation.
Thank you so much for your good remarks, and thank you so much for being with us today to give your support to the agriculture community for the sustainable development of their businesses. Next, congratulatory remark will be given by Mr. Kang Young-ok. Please welcome with a big round of applause. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to meet you. My name is Kang Yeon-oh, and once again, I'd like to say hello to all the dear participants. So this is very first international Electricity Vehicle Expo under the theme of electric and autonomous agriculture, and this will be the 3-day long expo. And it is my great pleasure to see the successful opening of it. Congratulations. Please allow me to express my gratitude to Chairman Yuman of Joint Organizing Standing Committee and all excellencies who help us to make this event possible. Last August, the organizing committee had a first ceremony to celebrate the birth of the expo, and for that short period of time, the organizing committee worked day and night to prepare this event. Thank you. Also, my express goes to Mayor Oh Young-un, policymaker Lee Sung-kwon, and the real supporter of the event, Chairman Im Jung-un, Kang Chung-won, Kang Sang-soo. Thank you so much for honoring the event with your presence. Dear participant, thank you so much for your participation as well. The Jeju Island. Actually, the ratio of agriculture industry is 1.9 nationally, but in case of the Jeju Island, it is 10.9%. So the share of agriculture industry in the island is 10 times larger than the national average. But as you know, the agriculture industry has facing aging issues, especially in case of Jeju Island. In case of smaller district, they are facing super aging society already. So because of aging population, they are suffering from harsh labor shortage issue. Thus, to resolve this kind of labor issue, machinization is something very critical. However, the machinization on the mainland is almost 100%. On the other hand, it is only 62% in the island. As actually, I had this discussion with some of the participants. I told them that the machinization should be developed and employed in all application area of the agriculture industry on the island. So such machinization will help us to resolve labor shortage issue. And also in 2012, like many people said, Carbon-Free Island Initiative was announced, so this is 10th anniversary. The emission has to be curbed drastically, and that will be hugely enabled by the machinization that I just mentioned. So the machinization is the clear path forward. And I believe that we'll have an in-depth discussion on the machinization through this expo. I hope that this expo can help us to improve the sustainability of the agriculture industry and make huge contribution to the growth of it. And also, Mayor Oh took out of her precious time to attend this meeting to express his support. And my city council will work to the fullest as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your speech and your presence. And he promised that the provincial council will be committed to supporting the industry. Next, the first keynote speech will be delivered by Chairman Jeju Cho of National Association of Mayors will be delivered under the theme of local extinction crisis and how to overcome it. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome him with a big hand. Ladies and gentlemen, as have been introduced, I'm Chairman Jeju Cho, as well as Mayor of Namgu District of Daegu City. Today we are holding the first electric and autonomous agriculture expo. I'd like to sincerely congratulate all of you on the opening of it. And my special thanks go to Chairman Eunman Lee of Joint Organizing Standing Committee and President Tae-hwan Kim, as well as my special thanks go to all the co-chairs of the organizing committee. Jeju is blessed with its beautiful nature and environment, and for such beautiful environment, Governor Young-hun-oh of Jeju Special Self-Governing Province is here with us today. But he went away, and National Assemblyman Song-gun, we also left here. I should have mentioned it earlier and faster. Anyway, Consul General of Wang Lushin of China, I'd like to sincerely thank you for your presence. And today we have President Jong-sun Lee of Daedong. Thank you very much for your presence. And we have many more distinguished participants here today. So in accordance with the Article 182 of local governing law, so 226 local districts mayors are joining us as a member of National Association of Mayors. There are two administrative cities in Jeju City and Seogwipo City. And those two cities are members of our National Association of Mayors. And we have Vice Mayor of Im Suk-oh of Jeju City. I'd like to welcome you. And today, we are facing global climate crisis, and in responding to this, we need to achieve carbon neutrality in the agriculture industry, and we need to create a consensus for energy transition. That's why we are here today. Rural areas in Korea are facing global climate crisis, as well as they are on the brink of local extinction. In the near future, 226 local districts, among them, half will be highly likely to disappear by 2020. If you look at the census of Korea, it's about 58 million. For the first time, we saw a decline. And Gyeongbuk-guni, in such county, if 10 elderly passed away, then just one newborn baby is coming to us. It means that the number of deaths surpasses the number of newborns. So local extinction is in our sight. And we are seeing decreasing population in rural areas. And we are holding the very first electric and autonomous agriculture expo to conduct agricultural businesses with advancement and machinery. So ever since the enactment of low birth rate and low birth rate act, the government has been investing 200 trillion won as budgets, and the government has been very committed, but we have failed to stop decreasing population. And of course, decreasing population is one thing, but migration into the greater area from local areas is another issue, which is, I believe, more serious. And as of 2021, about 88,000 people moved out to the Greater Seoul area from local provinces. It means that about just one Gun county has 30,000 population. It means that 3 counties have disappeared. In particular, youth and teenagers, for education and jobs and housing, migrating into the Greater Seoul area. And we need to think about why teenagers and youth are going to the Greater Seoul area, because authorities and economic power are concentrated in the Greater Seoul area. The Greater Seoul area's population is about 25.96 million. It exceeded the population of non-Greater Seoul areas, and about 74% of headquarters of 1,000 major companies are concentrated in Seoul, and about 50 large enterprises headquarters are concentrated in the Greater Seoul areas, and about 81% of credit card payment has been made in the Greater Seoul areas. So to solve such issues, the government has made a lot of policies, and some policies paid off. And let's look at some other countries' cases. Since 1980s, France has carried out balanced growth policies. So in accordance with the policy, devolution or decentralization happened. In particular, led by National Territory Balance Administration, businesses and governments created some consensus and contracts so that they were able to promote exchange and cooperation. And if you look at Japan, there is a policy called local revitalization policy. So in case businesses made donations for the project, then they would get incentives. So it means that businesses, home donation incentives have been given to businesses. And in 2011, in England, GMCA, the very first local authority association, was established. So for 2.8 million people, they were able to provide local welfare and health services, and they also provided housings to their people. And led by local government in Korea, we have been carrying out some policies to strengthen local competitiveness, and we have been conducting these policies for a long time. And if you look at Yonggang County, as of 2018, its birth rate is 2.538, which makes the county number one when it comes to birth rate. So they have carried out a campaign called Maintaining 54,000 People. So in 2019, the county created Job Policy Administration, and they established 5-year policy for demographic policies. So they established and pushed forward various policies for marriage, pregnancy, birth, housing, and youth policies. And for co-growth, the county has been carrying out many projects. And if you look at Changsu, Namwon, Gure, Gokseong County, and Hamyang and Sancheong and Hadong County, so there is a Mount Jiri Tourism Development Association joined by 7 counties near Jiri Mountain, and they have carried out festivals and pushed forward various events. And in 2011, 9 counties joined together to create a Development Council of South Central Region on the South Coast, thus promoting tourism and marketing of agricultural products. And let's look at Namgu district of Daegu City. As you can see, you can have a whole view of Daegu. So you can see a mountain inside the city. But if you look at a park, you can see a reservoir area. We have seen many complaints and petitions from our citizens for its odor. So we reinvented the area with piloty pillars, and we created a new park with grass. So parking a car, so create a parking space for just one vehicle costs 100 million won. So creating 11 parking spaces cost us 125 million won. And around the park, there are so many events for sunrising, but there has been no event for sunset. So that's why we created an event for sunset, and we also created Sky Bridge, or some bridge for love, in the park. And today we have 15 million companion animals, and our president is also raising companion animals. So by integrating 12 cultural themes, we created a tourism cultural park. And with more than 2 million children and tourists, Gongyeong Park and International Climbing Park were established, and now they are very popular as landmarks of Daegu City. So many tourists are coming to Namgu district, thereby vitalizing the local economy. So we are very much committed to preventing ourselves from being extinct. So as you can see, we have many policies in place. So at a central government level, from this year, to respond to local extinction, budgets have been allocated. And from next year, donation policy will be in place. In that regard, I believe we need to have devolution and decentralized authority and power of the Greater Seoul area with local provinces. That is the fundamental solution. And focusing and led by local governments, we need to create some policies to solve local extinction, and we need to establish basic law and create a control tower. And also we need to take a bold policy. For example, relocating university or companies into local areas. And other than innovative cities, we need to think about companies moving to areas on the brink of local extinction. And to save and protect local residents and to nurture local talented people, we need to think about self-governing police, and we need to renovate local policies. And also competition project should be totally transformed. And to increase birth rate in local areas and to prevent people's migration from local provinces to Greater Seoul area, we need to adopt local primary care physician policy. And we need to secure cultural diversity as well as proximity between job and work, between job and home. And we need to secure jobs and we need to provide education services with a full virtuous cycle. So we need to come up with very active, supportive measures for citizens. And power and budgets are allocated and concentrated usually in the Greater Seoul area, but we need to do devolution and decentralization so that cities and counties and villages should be able to carry out better policies for citizens so that we can revitalize local provinces. So in that regard, the National Association of Mayors, as a leading association, will be committed to preventing local extinction and to achieve carbon neutrality in rural areas. We will be a leading agent. And for a sustainable future of the Republic of Korea, I'd like to ask all of you to join us for our efforts.
Thank you so much for your presentation. He talked about how to overcome the population crisis or risk at the local level. Thank you so much for your presentation. The second keynote speech is going to be given by Head of Application Engineer Jacob Madsen. So for this presentation, he traveled a long distance from all the way from Denmark. Please welcome with a big round of applause, please.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be invited here, and it's an honor to represent Danfoss in this event. So thank you to the organization and everyone supporting this to happen. So it's really exciting for me and for Danfoss to join this first ever event. Thank you. So I'm Jacob Madsen. I'm leading the application engineering in Danfoss, part of the R&D organization. And right now I'm located in Osaka, Japan. But you know, Denmark is my home country, and I was really happy to hear this morning that actually Jeju is also having a connection with Denmark and the islands of Denmark. So that's really empowering to hear that an island like Jeju and the Danish islands are actually working on the same trend and targets for carbon neutral islands. So Danfoss is a family-owned company. It was founded in 1933 by Mr. Mats Clausen, and it's still in the family ownership. So Danfoss is running the values of running the company as one big family. And I think since the foundation in 33, it has always been the target for Danfoss to do more with less. So that means, it has been more or less from the beginning the task to see how we can get more out of less energy. So it started with the heating systems, but it soon came into more advanced machinery, but also to make sure that we are somehow growing in all segments where we believe that Danfoss can support. Danfoss Group today is divided into 3 segments. We have Danfoss Power Solution, where I'm coming from. We are more or less half of Danfoss today, where we are focusing on hydraulic, electronic, and electrification, and autonomous solutions for construction industry, forestry, and agriculture. And the 2 other segments is a climate solution, where we focus on heating and cooling system, district heating, and these kind of things. And also then we have the drive section, where it's a lot about industrial drivers for the industry, and also for the car industry. We have our components in more than 30,000 vehicles today in the car industry. So a lot of the components for EV cars is actually produced by Danfoss. I want to start with the electrification of Danfoss. We have a brand we call Danfoss Editron. Danfoss Editron is the brand name we use for the electrification part of Danfoss. It started in 2019, a little bit earlier, but that's where we really focused that and made it a kind of a specific business area that we want to focus. You can see we are still on a journey where we want to make sure that we are contributing with the electrification of the world. And you can see the journey is starting now, and at the end we want to be seen as the #1 player in electric systems. We are focusing on 3 businesses to start with. So we have a marine business where a lot of pulsation for marine. It seems to be a very good starting point for small and medium-sized boats and ferries and these kind of things, where you can somehow transport back and forward in a certain time that you can recharge your batteries in between in the harbor. We have an off-highway, where of course agriculture is located, and this is focusing on everything, of construction machinery and all kind of, harbor equipment, airport equipment, and of course marine oil and gas and agriculture. On highway is the electrification of buses and trucks and all this kind of passenger vans and so on. So what we produce in Danfoss is a kind of a solution. We produce the motors, the electric machines that is used for propelling the vehicles, or it could also be the motor driving the hydraulic pump on the vehicle. We also do the inverters that convert the battery power into the power to the motors, and in between, of course, a very sophisticated software that makes sure that everything is happening in the right orders. At the same time, also kind of, make sure that we are charging the battery correctly again. So of course, this is very much focusing on that. We see a huge amount of lower fuel consumption. by using this, but also very much driven by regulations that we see many more cities and countries are implementing now, that it is needed to use electric vehicles for construction site or garden or golf equipment and these kind of things. That is actually driven by regulation, that also that the manufacture of these vehicles, they boost now the development of these vehicles. Case stories, we have, of course, this is now. This is not a technology that are coming. This is now. We have several machines in serious production, and I have mentioned a few here as cases. We have, together with Caterpillar, implemented a full battery system for their vehicle, and a big excavator. An example where we implement a battery package together with a motor that drives the entire excavator. This is now in serious production, and it's very often used especially in cities where the city law simply say that all machine has to be electrically driven. Here we have a forest harvester, a company in Finland making forestry harvesters, where we made a hybrid solution where it's kind of, you know, downsizing the engine, the diesel engine dramatically, and then using the diesel engine to power a battery, and then the battery is via the inverter is powering the wheels on the vehicle. By having this hybrid solution that we have been known from the cars for several years now, this similar solution, of course, can also be used in big vehicles. And here we see a power increase of 72%. So simply the power in the machine increased 72%, and we had up to 30% reduction of fuel at the same time. So this is now a very powerful machine that they have, because you can store the electric and use it exactly the moment, the second where you need it. Autonomous. Autonomous is the word for the future, and it's a very wide scale of things. And I will give us a short example on how Danfoss look on autonomy for the agriculture business. So the problem, you can say, what we are facing is that, as we heard also in many of the opening speeches here, is that there is a lack of expertise, there's a lack of labor shortage. So I think about farming, it's a lot about, you need to have skills, you need to know what to do, and that you need training. And labor shortage, I think the population is not growing, but we still want to grow the food production. Here are some examples where autonomy can take over and support in where you can say that the algorithm in the software will help you. Instead of having a very skilled and trained person on the vehicle, it could be someone where you leave the monitoring, to identify what to do or not to do, leave that to the software so the driver can focus on driving. Another one is that due to labor shortage, that we simply want to have one person taking care of several vehicles instead of having one person on each vehicle. It could also be that we want to have it completely autonomous, where we have no people around. There's different layers, and I will show you in a minute. Here's just an example from also that in US and Canada in 2019, there was $3 billion of crop that was not harvested, simply because of labor shortage. So there is a need really to do something, and there is also, you can say, funding, because there is, if we can get all the harvest done, there will also be funding to pay for these machines. Again, safety, productivity, and precision is one of the key that we focus on. In the Danfoss plus one autonomy solutions. You know, safety is absolutely key, that we make sure that autonomous vehicles are safe to use. So that's our biggest effort, that we prioritize that we make safe vehicles. Productivity, we want to make sure that we get more out of less. So we simply get higher productivity with these autonomous vehicles, either with the same power or with less power. And precision, we want to make sure that the precision is always getting better and better. So of course that the machine has to be more accurate, they need to be more precise, so we can use them for more and more activities. As I said, autonomy is many different things. It's actually, you can say, many different layers of assistance. We have made this kind of levels, you can say, to make sure that we talk with customers on the same level, because autonomy can be many different things. We can start with level 1, or level 0 is where there's no autonomy at all. Level 1 is where we have slightly driver assistance. It could be a GPS that guides you so you know where you are. Level 2 is where we have a little bit more function, but still you need a driver. But here you can maybe do a remote control, or you can do a joystick to help you, to assist you in your driving. Level 3 is where you can say where where Danfoss autonomy systems start kicking in, is where we start asking the machine to have you can say, do things on its own. It's still monitored by a human, but it takes more and more decisions on its own. So you can say that via the coordination of the position, it will, for example, start fertilizing or stop fertilizing by itself. It will start spraying or stop spraying by itself to make sure that we are not overspraying or over fertilizing. So it will be completely done according to the map made by the farmer. This is kind of, a level 3 automation where we use the technologies to support you in doing it, your operation precise. Level 4 is where we start asking the vehicle to do things on its own. Here the vehicle will drive by itself, it will take decisions by itself, but there will at all time be a person to monitor that the vehicles are coordinating correctly. It could also be in a farmer situation where one farmer is monitoring 2 or 3 tractors in the same field. So this is a kind of, a level 4 autonomy where the vehicle drives by itself, but is at all time monitored by a key person to make sure that it's done correctly. Level 5 is the highest level of autonomy, where we more or less leave the vehicle to do all the decisions on its own. It's, of course, a very sophisticated kind of autonomy, but also probably where we are heading in the future. It will be where vehicles is driving 100% by itself. It makes its own decisions, of course, predefined from the farmer or from the contractor, saying that I want you to do this kind of work, and then the vehicle will calculate its path. It will do its own way of doing things. And still, in all level, on an extremely high safety level, so we make sure we follow regulation, local regulation, and also global regulation on how to build safe machines, how to build safe software, and make sure that safety is always the highest priority when we implement these kind of systems. Move forward. So with Danfoss +1 autonomy systems and products, we have divided into to three level of you can say components or software. We have first the hardware, where Danfoss offer a wide range of hardware to implement on your vehicle. It could be sensors, it could be hydraulic valves, it could be remote control, it could be also be the computer itself that monitor everything. Danfoss has a huge variety of hardware components already, and at the same time we have a lot of partners in the industry. There are some radars, there are some GPS that Danfoss don't produce itself, but we work together with partner companies to make sure that the radars and the sensors and the GPS is actually working properly and safely together with the Danfoss product. So we have our own product, and then we have a lot of partners that we work together with to make sure that we can complete the solution. In the middle, if you look on the software side, we have developed a variety of software tools that we have in a library. That makes sense. So each OEM manufacturer of machine manufacturer don't need to build their own software from zero. There is a library of already existing software where you can somehow pick and choose, and for your specific vehicle, you can put your software together. So you can say maybe 60 to 80% of your software is already done. It's just to combine it to exact that vehicle that you want to use, want to build. And then at the end, we have a service, software service side. Makes sense that we have a kind of a global standard for how we service these kind of software. So if it's a Danfoss software, there is a unique service tool that makes sure that wherever in the world someone wants to connect to the vehicle, then there is a standardized service tool to make sure that you can connect and you can figure out what is going on with my vehicle. Do I want to do some changes on the vehicle, or do some parameter settings? Of course, all coordinated and with close contact with the OEM manufacturer on what the OEM manufacturer want the end user or the service team to be able to do themselves, and what do the original manufacturer want to do on their own. This is a little bit of the portfolio as we look today. There is a kind of phase of when we're thinking about autonomy. There is different layers of that needs to be considered. When a vehicle has to drive autonomy, there is a kind of we put it in as a planning phase. You can say there's some technologies, and you plan, and you probably the farmer is sitting at home and planning his activities in the field. That we call the planning layer. Then we have the precision layer. That's more or less when the vehicle start moving. There is we need to make sure that it's done precisely, and that's where the precision layer, where with the sensors and so on, is placed. Then the decision layer is inside the controller. We have the controller that with all the input from the interface from the planning and the interface from the sensors, make the decisions on what to do. Then we have the control layer. The control layer is then where you say you tell the vehicle what to do. We have a kind of a modular setup also with joystick and remote control to support that. You say, now we tell the vehicle what we want to do. And then we have the execution layer, where we have the pumps and the motors and the drivetrains and the cylinders, the valves, to do the physically work that we want the machine to do. And this is all handled by the same software. So all these components are talking together with the same software, where we in Danfoss use our +1 guide as the main software for everything we do to connect these products. The technology is still relatively young. It is ready to for sales, but of course there is a constant development. There's a little bit of a timeline here. Today we have launched a product called XM100. The XM100 is a kind of the first controller that will handle navigation, sensor management, propel control, GPS, and positioning. So you can get your vehicle do precise work on its own. This will continuously develop, and that's probably also why we need customer input. We need input from farmers to tell what is the next we want to do, because this is a journey we are on where we want to make sure that we are developing state-of-the-art, what is needed in the business, also in the future. So the next product that we will, of course, is an MX200 that we will launch later this year or next year, that we are start looking into path planning, sensor fusion, and collision assistance, and so on. So there's a lot of activity building block all the time coming into this. And then, of course, the task at the end is to have a fully automated, operated vehicle, similar to what we know the car industries are looking for. That is probably a little bit 1 or 2 years in the pipeline, but we should start now, especially also to get the manufacturer, to get the farmers associated with these technologies, so we somehow can really move fast when this is developing. It's a little bit similar to the telephone business or other business that, you know, we started somewhere, but now the technology is completely different, but it's developing all the time. This is also where I would like to show a few case studies where you can say this is happening now. This is not a kind of under development. This is vehicles that are already in production. We have, you know, lawnmower equipment, we have sprayers, we have construction machinery, we have road building, especially these rolled drum. You know, after paving, you have this drum compressing the paving, and this is, of course, is very unique to have that autonomous, so you can have several pavers running by itself instead of having a driver in each of them. We have systems for airport equipment, where, of course, that one person can monitor several vehicles in airport. And then, of course, the maybe where it's most advanced is for the spraying and fertilizing, where we have this auto guidance systems where we can, via GPS, ask the vehicle to follow precise track, both when you're seeding, when you're spraying and fertilizing. I like to finish with a small appetizer video from a case story we made for a grape farmer in California. This is now in serious production, so I will finish up with a short video about this project.
A picker is going down with wheelbarrows down the rows with tubs, picking those tubs, putting them on a wheelbarrow and bring them out and packer packs at the end of the row. That's it. Hard work on a hot day, so people get tired. That's where we believe the autonomous carts will give us a boost.
I'm really excited about what we've achieved with our machine. We've been able to see an average increase of 30 to 40%, which translates into huge savings for our growers. With diminishing workforce and rising labor costs, our machine allows us to utilize all able hands.
Autonomous vehicles are going to be the future. So we plan on using autonomous carts, especially for picking. We expect to lease multiple units.
네, 고맙습니다.
Thank you very much. Safety, productivity, accuracy in agriculture could be enhanced with emphasis self-driving technologies as well as electrification technologies. Thank you very much for the introduction. And we are going to have a special lecture as a last part of today's event. To foster Korean startups and boost the local economy, President Young-ha Ko of Korea Business Angels Association is leading the formation of innovative startup ecosystem. The theme of the presentation is Make Jeju an Asian Startup Hub. Please welcome him with a big hand. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good to see you all. Thank you very much for inviting me to this meaningful occasion. And I'm going to talk about how to make Jeju a city where people can start businesses. First, I'd like to emphasize the importance of startups and starting businesses. Today, if you look at the Korean society, you can see geopolitical issues between Russia, Japan, China, and the United States. We are sandwiched by them. So that's why we have not been able to self-sufficient and have been depending on and influenced by China, the United States, and Japan. Indeed, we are facing the same challenges as well. Now the world is experiencing supply chain disruption separated by the United States and China. We are seeing imminent and realistic problems. But I believe, in my opinion, how can we be self-sufficient, freeing from the United States or China, or free from the influence of China and the United States? I believe we can be self-sufficient while moving forward. And I found the answer for self-sufficiency from here. So there is a company called Unicorn, which is valued at over $1 billion. If we are able to create such 1,000 unicorn companies, then we will be able to be self-sufficient. Let me show you an example. In 2019, in Japan, G20 summit was held in Osaka. back then President Trump of the United States, and then Prime Minister Abe got together, and in front of President Trump, President Moon was very careful. But as you can see on this picture, you can see Chancellor Merkel. And if you looked at her attitude toward President Trump, you can see how cynical she is. So having such facial expressions in front of the President of the United States, it's a very hard thing to do. And Trump finds it very unpleasant. And Chancellor Merkel seems very cynical. The United States has 320 million people, and Germany has 80 million. And the United States surpassed Germany almost all areas, including GDP. But German Chancellor Merkel stood up high in front of the United States President, and we studied how she was able to do that. So I believe we can be self-sufficient and we can stand up high in front of such powers. And I analyzed some reasons. If you look at hidden champion companies, so-called strong SMEs, it means that companies with revenue of 500 billion won to 5 trillion won, it's like middle market companies in Korean term. So in their own industries and in their fields, those companies are number one. So without their products, the world cannot run. So if you want to launch a spacecraft in the United States, then major parts of the spacecrafts are produced in Germany. Without those parts, the United States cannot run or launch such rockets. So there are 3,400 hidden champions in the world, and half of them are located in Germany. About 15 to 1,600 are located in Germany, followed by the United States with 360, which is just 1/5 of that of Germany. And Japan has about 280. And if you look at Germany, they have most majority of hidden champion companies. So the United States or China, or whether it be Japan, they cannot ignore Germany and they cannot look down on Germany. And now President Xi Jinping of China started his third term. And there is a tension between the US and China. So the United States is very afraid of European countries being close to China. And Prime Minister visited China with economic core. So they can pursue their national interest. They can make their move depending on their national interest. And I believe we should be the one like them. And to that end, we should make sure to establish or create 1,000 unicorn companies. We have about 20, 30 hidden champions within 10 to 15 years. If we are able to create 1,000 unicorns, then so if you look at the war on the Korean Peninsula in 1592, scholar Yulgok Lee insisted that the state recruit and conscript 100,000 soldiers, but we didn't do it. And I believe we should create tech ventures. And today we are talking about electrification and autonomous agriculture machines. So we need to make sure to have at least 1,000 tech ventures. We need to set a goal for the future. And we need to think about whether that is possible. And currently, we, a KBAA with the government, is creating 500 tech ventures. And other than us, many startup companies are created by other associations. So it means that a total of 1,000 tech ventures are being created. So next year, we are going to create 720 tech ventures. So by 2024, if we are able to create 1,000 tech ventures, then in 10 years, the number of tech ventures will be 20,000. So 20,000 of tech ventures, if you take 5% of them, then we can create 1,000 unicorns. So 1,000 unicorn companies means 1,000 trillion won. Currently, Korea's GDP is about $1.9 trillion. It means that we can add 1,000 trillion more dollars. So if we achieve such goal, then whether it be China or the United States cannot look down on us. They cannot neglect or ignore us. It means that we can be a strong company, a strong country. In that regard, startups and starting businesses are very important. And currently, the United States is led by Silicon Valley. In Silicon Valley, continuously new tech ventures are emerging. That's why the US has become a leading country. If you look at 10 top companies when it comes to market caps, including Google, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, those companies are innovating the United States. And with such innovative power, the US is leading the world. The same goes true for China. About 40 to 30 years ago, China was a really poor country. But now it has become one of the G2 countries because since 2000, Alibaba, Tencent, Xiaomi, Baidu, those companies have been emerging, thus making the country one of the top 2 countries in the world. And within the next decade, I believe Korea can be standing at an equivalent position with the United States and China because things are very rapidly changing today. We are living in the 4th Industrial Revolution era. I believe it would provide us with a huge amount of opportunities. And up until the 19th century, the time required to double the amount of knowledge we have was 100 years. So it means in 100 years, we are able to double the knowledge we have. But in the 20th century, it took 25 years to double the knowledge we have. And now, to double the amount of knowledge we have, it just takes 1 year. It means 100 times faster compared to 19th century. But in 10 years, by 2030, it would just take 3 days for us to double the amount of knowledge we have. It means that 100 times faster than today. So changes that will occur in 10 years would be huge, more huge than changes we had over the last century. So in a rapid change, I believe we will be able to capture huge amounts of potentials and opportunities. Once we create more than 2,000 startups, then in 10 years, we will be a strong powerhouse when it comes to startups. And if you look at this table, you can see how fast the world has changed. And in 2010, if you look at top 10 companies when it comes to market cap, among the top 10 companies, only 2 survived. And the rest totally changed with new companies. If you look at Korea, compared to the 10 years ago, we have seen a lot of changes. So if you look at top 10 companies of Korea when it comes to market cap, Samsung Electronics, LG, other than that, all of them changed. And if you look at industries, there is a shift from steel, shipbuilding, automobile and electronics to tech and bio. Also, when it comes to retail, Shinsegae and Lotte have dominated the market over 4 years. And now we are using Coupang that didn't exist 10 years ago. But if you look at the market cap of Coupang, that is far higher than Shinsegae or Lotte. It means many things have changed. And if you look at the banks, Gungmin and Shinhan and other major banks, but now we are using KakaoBank and Naver Pay and Toss. And their market caps are higher than major banks. So in just a decade, many things have changed. So in 10 years, we will see huge changes as well. And globally, innovations are coming from startups. Today, we are talking about electrification and autonomous agriculture machinery. But when it comes to EV, innovations are not coming from General Motors, Toyota, Benz, or other companies with 100 years of history. Those innovations are coming from Tesla, a US company established in 2003. So almost all innovations in the automotive industry are led by Tesla. And let's take AI. There are many successful and huge companies of AI. And a UK company called DeepMind that developed AlphaGo, that beat Go champion Lee Sedol, and that company is a world global leader. And let's look at drones. Of course, the aviation industry is quite booming in China and the United States, but DJI, which is a Chinese company as well as a startup, takes up 60 to 70% of the global drone markets. And autonomous driving and mobility are led by Uber. And when it comes to autonomous driving, Israel's Mobileye is a leader in the world. So those are leading innovations in the world. And we've been through 3 years of COVID-19 pandemic. Even the COVID-19 vaccines were developed by startups. Usually, developing a vaccine takes 10 to 20 years in the past. So that's why Merck, Johnson & Johnson, global pharmaceutical companies had led the vaccine development. But COVID-19 vaccines were developed by startups. A company called Moderna that didn't exist 10 years ago. And also BioNTech, which is a startup. And Pfizer is mass producing vaccines developed by BioNTech. Even vaccines were developed by startups. It shows how fast technological changes occur. So it is not about whether Samsung Electronics can make innovations. Innovations are made by all startups, and Samsung Electronics can make better use of innovations brought by startups. So in 10 years, new companies will emerge, and those new companies will make a difference in the world. I believe such era will come to us. And at the center of such era, there is Korea. And I believe Korea will be able to do well. Because in Korea, there are many companies in many fields: AI, batteries, bio, automobile, even content. The best in case is BTS. And I believe we are ready. And it's hard to see such a country in the world. I believe Korea is one and only, I believe. And almost all sectors. So we are doing very well in almost all sectors. So in 10 years, huge opportunities will come to us. So with that in mind, we need to think about how to do it. So the answer is startup. and we need to create a city for startups. That should be our way to go. And if you look at aerospace industry, the United States and China are making huge amount of investment for the advancement of this aerospace industry. Usually the aerospace industry had been led by states like China, the United States, or Russia. As you just watched, a rocket was launched and it is being recycled, reused. Launching a satellite separates a rocket, and the rocket fell into the sea, and this is what China is doing. And such reusable rockets cannot be made by Russia or China, but it was created by a US startup called SpaceX. So new innovative startups will make a difference going forward. So globally, where do you think is the most proper for startups? Of course, the number one is Silicon Valley in UK, and second is London, and third is New York City, and fourth, Boston, and fifth is Beijing, and sixth is Los Angeles, and seventh is Israel, Tel Aviv, and eighth is Shanghai, and ninth is Seattle, and 10th is Seoul, Korea. So it means that Seoul is one of the top 10 cities where the environment is proper for startups. But we were out of top 10 countries before, and among the top 10, there are 5 US cities, 2 Chinese cities, and 1 Israel. And now the world is led by the US and China. And I believe this presentation shows how important startups are. So in Asia, Seoul, other than China, surpassed Japan. So it means that we are improving our startup ecosystem. And the previous speaker talked about local extinction. And indeed, local extinction is about migration of young people in local provinces to the Greater Seoul area. But if there are quality jobs in the local provinces, then there are no reason for young talented people to go to the Greater Seoul. And even young people want to come to Jeju to enjoy and appreciate beautiful nature, but there are no jobs in Jeju Island. But if Jeju Island is able to create quality jobs, then Jeju can make itself as a startup hub. And let me show you some examples of startups revitalizing the city. There is a city called Malmö in Sweden. Indeed, it was a leading city in shipbuilding, but Korean and Japanese shipbuilding industries have grown fast, which made the city of Malmö declined. So almost all shipbuilding projects came to Ulsan, Korea, and other countries. So the population of Malmö declined from 350 to 200,000, but now the city is reviving. So Malmö attracted a university and fostered new talented people and created an ecosystem for startups for investment, which made Malmö one of the innovative cities in Europe. And let's look at a city called Rochester in the United States. It is located in the New York State. There is a company called Kodak, and the headquarters of the company was located in Rochester. At that time, they had 60,000 employees. But with the emergence of digital camera, Kodak fell down. And the employees were declining to 30,000. At that time, many opinion leaders in Rochester gathered together and talked about how to revive the city. So that's why they created Entrepreneurship Center in University of Rochester. And at the center, they trained youth and talented people, and they created investment ecosystem so that they can nurture startups. And now Rochester is seeing more population coming again. So 60,000 employees of Kodak disappeared and left the city, but now they are attracting people again, and Rochester has become one of the greatest cities for jobs. So once you create ecosystems, startup ecosystems in Jeju, then Jeju province will be much more dynamic and active. So taking this opportunity, I'd like to make some proposals for Jeju. We should create a startup administration in Jeju province so that we can create an environment where youth and talented people can start their own businesses. And we need to create a center for entrepreneurship in the province. And what the center should do is to educate students, elementary school, middle school, high school students, and university students with entrepreneurship. But we had almost no education or took courses for entrepreneurship. But if you look at other countries, entrepreneurship education courses were available even in elementary schools. So we should create such center in Jeju University and give training courses to students. And in 10 years, I believe so many young talented people with entrepreneurship would come to Jeju for starting their own businesses. And to foster such talented people, a competition should be held for elementary school, middle school, high school, and university students. Then talented people will start their own businesses. So in Silicon Valley, there's a university called Stanford. So 20% of those schools' students started their own businesses, and some got a job at Google and Apple or Amazon, and the rest may find jobs for public servants. But if you look at Korea, most students want to become public servants. So we need to make sure talented people, talented youth can start their own businesses in Jeju. And second, once youth or talented people start their own businesses in Jeju, then we need to make investment in those startups. We need to create an investment ecosystem. We should have an angel investment ecosystem. And there are 300,000 angel investors in the United States. Angel investors make investments in innovative technologies or technologies at a nascent stage. And in Jeju today, lawyers, doctors, and there are so many people with huge amount of assets. And if they can make investment of tens of millions of investments in them, then they will be able to get a huge ROI. If you invest in 10 million Korean won, sometimes you may get 100 times of ROI after the company went public, go public. So if you invest in 10 million won, then you will get 10 billion won. So there are so many people earning money by working as an angel investor. And also angel investors can nurture talented people, so it's quite rewarding job. So we should educate angel investors. We should educate asset owners with angel investment. So it takes a few years, but we can surely. And next, with just angel investment, we cannot do everything. Of course, with angel investment, companies can create prototypes, but for mass production, it requires billions of won. And we need to create growth fund for such investment, and it should be led by Jeju province. And yearly, if you are able to form 100 to 200 billion won of funds, then we will be able to see unicorn companies in the future. So if we are able to nurture 40 tech ventures, then in 10 years, it will be 400. Then if you take 5% of those 400, then 20. So 20 companies could generate huge amount of GDP in the province. So mayors of many associations, mayors of many local provinces pledge that they would attract companies to their local provinces. So attracting large enterprises to local provinces seems far off. I believe for 4 to 8 years, if we will remain committed, then we will be able to create a startup ecosystem. Of course, it will take some time. So that's why politicians have not paid attention to this. But insightful politicians may know that we can create an ecosystem for startups. And I believe you remember President Obama of the United States in 2008 when the financial crisis hit the country. And President Obama was elected during that period, and he started his term in 2008. At that time, President Barack Obama pledged that he would make America a startup country. So for 8 years, he had presided startup discussions and meetings. That's why the U.S. has a lot of startup cities. And that's how they got number one. So governor or mayor of Jeju province should have a long-term vision for 4 to 8 years and create startup ecosystem. Then the city of Jeju will be the most and best livable city in the country. And last but not least, there are many countries in Asia, and there are so many young, talented people wanting to come to Jeju because Jeju is a livable city. So Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, talented people want to come to here. But if you suggest that you would invest 1 billion Korean won if you come to here, then they would come to us. Then all we should do is gather them together and start their own businesses. And talented people in the country go to Silicon Valley. That's how Silicon Valley companies create innovations. So I hope opinion leaders in Jeju should create an ecosystem for startups. Then, in 10 years, some household name companies could be established. And 7 years ago, we created Creative Economy Innovation Center, and center manager Jong Han-jeon has been very committed to attracting and establishing companies in Jeju. But the center director of the center alone cannot do everything. So opinion leaders, including governors and mayors in Jeju, should join the efforts. Then Jeju could be an Asian hub for startups. So with this, I'd like to conclude my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
네, 고영업 회장님.
Thank you so much, President Ko, for your special lecture. He talked about the importance of business startups and how to create a proper startup ecosystem by stages, he suggested. So that concludes the opening ceremony for the very first IEVEXPO, Electronic and Autonomous Agriculture. Like I said, this is very first expo for electric and autonomous agriculture, and we share the meaning and value of the smarter agriculture industry. And the opening ceremony kicked off, and we will start the 3-day program beginning from today. We will provide rich content to all of you. After the opening ceremony, please visit the tour altogether led by our staff member, and also we will have an official photo taking together to celebrate the first opening of the event. All the VIP guests, please come on the stage so that we can take a photo together and close the opening ceremony. Please come forward.
네, 그리고 괜찮으시다면 이은만 상임공동조직위원장님께서 구호를 선창해 주시고 우리가 다 함께 그 의미를 새겨서 후창하면서 찍으면 어떨까라는 생각이 드는데요. 인원이 많으신 관계로 여러 줄로 서주시면 좋겠습니다. 네, 얼굴이 가려지지 않도록 이렇게 사이사이에 잘 서주시고요. 많은 분들 자리하셨기 때문에 모두 모셔서 한 사진에 담고자 합니다. 네, 앞쪽에 카메라 봐주시고요. 네, 마스크 벗고 한번 찍으실까요? 그럼 먼저 환한 미소 보여주시는 사진부터 한번 찍어보겠습니다. 하나, 둘, 셋, 스마일. 네, 그리고 파이팅 포즈 한번 해볼까요? 오른손으로 주먹 꽉 쥐어주시고 제가 하나 둘 셋 하면 파이팅 힘차게 외쳐주시기 바랍니다. 하나 둘 셋 파이팅! 네, 그리고 위원장님께서 마지막으로 구호 한번 외쳐주시면 저희가 후창하면서 찍으면 어떨까 싶은데요. 한 번만 더 하실까요? 네, 부탁드리겠습니다. 네. 파이팅! 네, 고맙습니다. 이상으로 개막식의 모든 순서 마치겠고요. 전시장 순람으로 진행을 하겠습니다. 고맙습니다.